Hi, I'm Larry Magid, CEO of Connect Safely, and I'm with Emma Higham, who is the Senior Product Manager at Google, responsible for child safety search. Emma, it's great for you to join us. Thank you very much.
Hi, Larry. Thanks so much for having me today.
Well, I wanted to talk with you about some of the products that Google is shipping to make things better and safer for kids and families. So, why don't we start off by just generally talking about Safe Search? That's been around for a very long time, but I know that you have some new features that are part of that process, as well as some other new features that can help make families a bit safer and more comfortable.
Yeah, thanks, Larry. I'd love to talk about that. We're really excited about this set of launches. Well, first, I'll say that one of our principles in search is that we never want to shock or offend people with explicit or graphic content when they're not looking for it. And as you say, safe search settings have been around for now actually 20 years, since the year 2000. And that's been one of the key parts of one of the key toolkits, really, that we've offered users to avoid inadvertent exposure to explicit imagery. What do I mean when I say explicit content? I really mean sexual content and graphic violence. This is content that can be relevant to your query. It can actually be really helpful information in some cases, but it can certainly be shocking. And if you aren't looking for it, we know that it's not a great search experience. And so we've actually decided to offer an additional layer of protection to help our users avoid this type of content. And that's where this Safe Search Blur setting comes in. Safe Search Blur is a net new setting within the Safe Search offering, and it's actually going to be the new default. So all users who didn't already have Safe Search filtering on will be experiencing Safe Search Blur today.
So that means that regardless of whether you even have kids, if you just go on to Google and you do a search, you're going to get the blurred imagery by default. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct, Larry. So what we see is that all users of any age can be concerned about explicit images popping up. We know that when we look at users of any age, there's this really important need to balance access to information concerns against safety. And so what we found is that blurring is a really nice way to strike that balance. Let me give you maybe an example of what this might look like. So this weekend, this is just a personal use case that I came across. I was actually making lasagna for my partner. The oven's hot, I'm ready to put it in, and I forgot to put on my oven gloves. And you may not be able to see, but I got quite a bad burn as I put it in. And what I sought to do after, putting my hand under cold water was figure out, was this a second degree burn? So I searched in Google, second degree burn. And what I found was that many of the results were quite graphic. With the new Safe Search blurring setting, any graphic images of second degree burns were blurred. Since I wanted to see those, I could decide to unblur the images at an individual image level or just turn off the setting. And to me, that was a really good example of what we're seeking to do to provide transparent access to the information that's relevant to your query while still protecting you from unwanted exposure to explicit images.
So basically, just to be clear here, if you want to look at the content, whether it's graphic or sexual or whatever it is, you certainly as an adult, of course, you would have the right, you would be able to do so. But by default, it's going to be blurred. Is that my understanding?
Yeah, that's correct, Larry. This is a setting. You can turn it on or off anytime. And in addition to introducing blurring, you'll also start to see notices at the top of your search page for any explicit query, which will remind you that the Safe Search setting is there and give you an option to turn on Safe Search filtering or just turn off blurring and filtering for your query. So it's really easy to change the setting if that's what you want to do.
Will it be on if you're in incognito mode or if you're not signed into Google?
Yeah, it will, Larry. One of the key benefits we see here is protecting users before they've had a chance to configure their safe search preference. This is a moderate protection. It's something that's been built to balance transparency of access to information against safety needs. But the goal is that this is the goal, and the reality is that this is here as the new default protection for all users, including incognito and signed out.
And I assume that signed out and incognito would also have the option to look at the images if for whatever reason they wanted to look at them. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. The only exception where you may not find that you're able to change the setting is if your network is locked. For instance, I often search on public Wi Fi when I take the underground to and from work. And the public Wi-Fi has safe search settings forced on. That's common, that's been around for a long time, and we do provide transparency about that. So if you see that your safe search settings are locked, that's probably because your public Wi-Fi network is forcing safe search on, and you can talk to them if you'd like to change that.
Now, what about families if the parents want to enforce safe search on their children for their children? Is there a way that they can do that? I know you can on Family Link on Android devices, but on PCs and other devices, how does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I said, safe search blurring is really there to protect you before you've had a chance to configure your safe search preference. It's there as an out of the box protection. Family Link is really what I'd see as an opportunity to customize beyond that, and an option that families can take to get a safer experience according to their needs. We've done a lot of research on how search users use Family Link and other types of parental controls, and the main pain point we found was discoverability. There was a challenge of search parents not necessarily knowing that Family Link was there for them. So, an additional launch that we are really excited to share, Larry, is a new parental controls one box. This means that if you type in a query like Google Family Link, Google Parental Controls, you'll now find a box at the top of search which tells you what Family Link is and gives you quick access to set it up if you haven't got it already, or manage your child's settings if you have. And you mentioned, does Family Link only work on Android devices? It now works on web and other devices too. So that will be available to you if you're on a desktop as well.
And for those people who choose a browser other than Chrome, if they want to use Safari or Edge or some other browser, is it also available there as well?
It is available, although, as always, we're only able to protect users when they stay signed in. So on Chrome and Android, there are additional protections to prevent young children signing out. We're not able to offer that if you're on a non-Google owned and operated experience.
Any other new products or existing products you care to talk about in terms of search or other aspects of what Google's working on or has worked on?
One of our philosophies is that we want to make sure that search is safer by design. And so, in addition to these content controls that may be on by default or optional, we also bake in safeguards that help protect you from other types of harmful content. Examples here include queries that suggest a user might be vulnerable, self harm queries, suicide queries. In those cases, we're offering hotlines in response to the queries that help connect users with the resources they need. There's a lot more there. You may already be familiar with our content policies. We do a lot around dangerous content, around other types of content concerns, and those are all built in. I mention this, Larry, because when we work on Safe Search, which is a setting, we often find people think that they'll only get those protections if they opt in to Safe Search. The reality is we have a lot of these protections built in for everyone.